Hello SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded. I'll put the links to part 1 and part 2 in the description. And where I left off with the previous was, we just looked at Perseus and the story of Medusa, the Gorgon, with the snakes in her hair turning people to stone. How especially the northern hemisphere constellations, this story actually creates a lovely star map which would aid in navigation. So you learn a story but as a child, but as you develop your navigational skills would have been so important to the people of the Greeks, Mediterranean people as a whole. How these stories embed a star map essentially leading to the northern hemisphere and these other connections. But after Perseus, with the assistance, he'd been given various gifts: the sword of adamantium by Zeus, the shield, the Aegis shield by Athena, which you can see is also the goat skin of Capella with Medusa's head there. The sandals of Hermes, which allowed him to fly. These were some of the gifts given to him to aid. But after he cut Medusa's head off, Athena gave the blood of Medusa to Asclepius, the son of Apollo, god of healing. That blood, half of it was deadly, a bane to mankind. The other half could raise people from the dead and save mankind. Hades, god of the underworld, and Zeus were very concerned that this Asclepius was able to raise people from the dead, basically cheating death. Therefore, Asclepius was struck down by a lightning bolt of Zeus. Apollo, the father of Asclepius, was very upset by this, and he took revenge on the Cyclops. So we can see the one-eyed Cyclops. By most accounts, Hephaestus, the Greek god of metalworking and mining, he had 3 Cyclops to assist him. So in this image you see they're actually forging the thunderbolt of Zeus there. And we'll get to that in a moment, but you also notice that Hephaestus is lame on one side. It's very common, very important imagery, because lameness is very common to arsenic poisoning. Using arsenic adding arsenic to both steel or to bronze actually makes it a much, much better material for weapon or for stone working. And it's been found, studies of so the Greeks knew precisely how much arsenic to add to their bronze to make it even harder, and it was also added to steel. But that's again one of these, the science knowledge is based and passed on through this type of imagery. But Apollo was peeved that Asclepius had been killed by his father Zeus, so he took revenge on the Cyclops, and they had helped Hephaestus, or Vulcan as is known in the Roman world, to create the thunderbolts of Zeus. Now that's a bit of an irony, because so we go back to the Leiden papyrus, where they talk about how the exotic language, for instance, the snake's head is a leech, blood of a snake hematite, but the blood of Hephaestus was Artemisia, or Wormwood. Blood of Hephaestus / Vulcan is Artemisia, and that is named after the goddess of the moon, the goddess of the hunt, Artemis, otherwise known as Diana. I'll do some more on that in the future in regards to the properties of Artemis and wormwood, absinthe, for instance. So you'll see images now, Diana with the crescent moon and the arrows. This is so that's how the Romans knew her. To the Greeks, she was Artemis. Now, in the ancient world, the temple of Artemis at Ephesus was one of the wonders of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and also a very, very important medicine. So you have Artemisia absinthium and Artemisia pontica, or Roman wormwood. Very important medicine. Also has these psychoactive features, which is so common in some of these medicines. So Apollo, the god of the sun, gold. Artemis or Diana, the goddess of the moon, and silver. Artemis and Apollo were twins. They were born on a floating, I won't go into that, but both of them carried arrows, and that's an important feature. So Apollo carried a golden bow and arrow. Artemis had a silver bow and arrow. This is from the Archibald Fountain here in Sydney, but we see now, okay, maybe you can see the stag there, how she's connected, but also the hunting hound. So Artemis / Diana was also the goddess of the hunt, and she carried a silver bow. Apollo, god of the sun, of music, prophecy, other oracles. He carried a golden bow. Now, both the silver and golden bow were forged by the god Hephaestus or Vulcan. An important feature, you'll see that Hephaestus is lame there. So just like that earlier picture, we see him where he has been affected by the chemistry involved in metallurgy. He's the god of metallurgy after all. So there we see again Hephaestus with one lame leg. The thunderbolt of Zeus, there we see the Aegis shield, even the wheel of Fortuna. You can see a bow there as well. These are all instruments. So the lightning bolt of Zeus, built by Hephaestus and the Cyclops. The helmet of Hades, or the helmet of invisibility, which Perseus used in his quest to kill the Gorgon, Medusa. And during his quest, so Athena, associated with owl, so the wise owl was Athena's pet. Zeus ordered Athena to send her owl Bubo to assist Perseus in his quest. She didn't want to be separated from her owl, so she had Hephaestus create an automaton, a robotic owl, to assist Perseus. In the older movie, they do show that. In the recent version of the movie, they just wash over that entire, but very important feature. So the owl, and even, for instance, the books of Hieron, they were making automatons, steam-powered machines, little robots essentially, way back in the ancient times. So the blood of Hephaestus/Vulcan is Artemisia or Wormwood. And now let me pause a moment. Okay, so Athanasius Kircher in sort of related recent videos and other ones. This is one of the images from Athanasius Kircher, the Society of Jesus. And that's again this older spelling, but I won't go into that for the moment. This image, so Jesuit in the 1600s, you would think, that pagan symbolism, but no, this whole period, these Hermeticists, they were writing their codes, their language, and based so much of their information on pagan symbolism. Some would say that this had to do with the introduction of a corpus hermetica. I would absolutely not. You can find medieval period before the corpus hermetica was introduced, even Chartres Cathedral, for instance. You can find it all over. But what's actually happening in this image is quite interesting. So first we have Kircher and the Jesuit Society of Jesus. So here we see Apollo, the sun god. Now you even see the laurel, but the sun rays of Apollo. And we also have the caduceus of even the wings. Now even the traveller's hat, and we can even see the winged feet. So that's Hermes, Mercurius Trismegistus, or Mercury, god of knowledge, science, weights and measures. And that's, of course, caduceus is literally the wand, translates to measuring rod in the period. So we have Hermes and we have Mercury. And we also have here is Artemis or Diana. So this is one of the older statues. You can see the acorns and the Orphic eggs, Orpheus. Artemis, Diana. Again, Diana, crescent moon, the bow. Now even these older images, you can see the constellations around there. The acorns are a symbol of Zeus, father of Artemis. Artemis and Apollo were twins. Artemis was born first. So we are not much left of it. This is a reconstruction, but this is the temple of temple of Artemis in Ephesus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Here are some other versions of Artemis statues. Again, you see the same thing happening here. So this is what Kircher's using. So Artemis or Diana, the moon, Apollo, the sun, Hermes or Mercury, as in Mercury, the planet. But these also relate to elements. But it's interesting. Now, if we look out the window, so there's always layers and layers of happening here now. If we were to zoom in here, actually you can see distillation. This is an alchemist lab, so we see the alchemy aspect in this as well. And this is, well, these figures are mining, so metallurgy, alchemy, you can see again the tools the related there, but there's another little neat thing going on. So Vulcan or Hephaestus, god of metalworking, and there we see the three one-eyed Cyclops, his helpers. God of fire, god of metalworking, as in Vulcan, volcano. Now here's another image by Kircher as well, and as always, music and 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triangle, as well as a arithmetic in there as well. Now of course we have the zodiac revolving around a globe. That's a okay, but what's Pythagorean tuning? So if we zoom in on this part here, what do we see again? Hephaestus with his three helpers, the Cyclops. Pythagorean theorem also have a relation to music. Well, Hephaestus with his hammer and his three helpers with his hammer, god of metalworking. Now this would relate to, previous episode I said I'd come back to Robert Fludd, again this very important alchemist. Again, notice the hand symbol there. This is one of his images in regards to music. So he was an alchemist, but they have multiple levels happening. So this is a temple of music. We can see all the Lasso, etc. But also we have Pythagorean tuning systems here. So we have these harmonic numbers now: 32, 48, 72, 108, 162, 243. We see, so the temple, it's called the Temple of Music. We see also a reference to Apollo, god of music, the sun rays, but also his lyre there, and of course musical imagery all over it. But that's Robert Fludd. But is music and alchemy have these nice connections, because if we zoom in on this piece, Hephaestus with his three Cyclops, so there's 4 hammers again working, and of course the furnace there. Now this would relate back to Pythagorean tuning and music, for instance the Pythagorean hammers. I'll put a link to a video I did on that in the description, and how this tuning system and musical philosophy theory went through. So as the story goes, Pythagoras was walking past a blacksmith, and he heard that the hammers of the blacksmith workers were creating a beautiful musical scale. And then, the heaviest hammer was 12 pounds, then 9, then 8, then 6 pounds. And this creates, you could just insert vesica here, and we have the perfect fifth and the perfect fourth, whole tones, octaves. You could also include the tetractys or the tetragrammaton, beautiful triangular numbers, but anyway, everything interrelates in this aspect. So Robert Fludd, notice the hand sign, and back to the work of Kircher. Now here's a Society of Jesus. Now this, I forget the person's name, Fornax Spagyrica. The furnace of alchemy. Spagyric was an older term in general for alchemy. It's come to mean alchemy related to creating of medicine. So we see a very particular type of furnace here. This is called an athanor, from the Arabic altanor or baker's oven. Furnace of arcana, tower furnace, philosophical furnace, or a slow Henry. It's a furnace that provides constant and uniform heat. There we see some older illustrations of what's happening here. This is from De Re Metallica by George Agricole, and a cupellation furnace is essentially the same, where when you extract ore, you don't get copper, then gold in another piece of rock. You get alloys of many minerals put together, and so this is an example of a particular type of furnace which was used to separate lead from silver or gold. Now you have bismuth and zinc and other metals in there. And spagyric, old term for alchemy, more associated with herbal medicine. De Re Metallica, notice that they'll even workshop that they would use certain plants as well in the production of their metalworking, alchemy. And of course a connection to the Jesuits. And here's an image of Artemis. So we're hitting the 15-minute mark. I'll separate this one. but the connection between these ancient legends and the Hermetic. Have a good one. Cheers. Actually, I won't end it here. I'll stick it together. So we see this Kircher, and round about a little bit earlier birth, but we see this very important alchemist, Robert Fludd, who was music, geometry, arithmetic, astronomy. This is the one thing which joins all these famous alchemists, both in the early Renaissance, but also in the ancient times. This simply is a fact. If you're not including this, and not including these, this is the one thing which joins them all. They have different philosophies, they have different outlooks, we see different, this is the one thing that joins them all. And so Robert Fludd and Artemis, and now I wish I'd remember his name, but Fornax Spagyrica, or the alchemical furnace. There's even a constellation in the southern hemisphere called Fornax, which is sometimes called apparatus chemic, so apparatus alchemy. But notice the visual links between Artemis and this particular type of furnace. Okay, we did that in the previous one. The alchemical arts, now De Re Metallica was an alchemical work, but it was written in clear language. It's more like a modern textbook as opposed to the older one, but you still see the alchemical influence in regards to language, and it's actually discussed openly in the text by Agricole. So spagyric alchemy, another woodcut from De Re Metallica. We've done that. Society of Okay, so now we come to Artemis. Again, we see the stag related to the goddess of the hunt, and also notice Delphinus that we mentioned in the previous episode. This constellation, the dolphin. Of course, in the older days they drew Delphinus in a different way. It was also Delphinus would be depicted in the old shipping imagery as well, often painted on the boats too. Here's another image of Artemis, but now literally we can see the furnace, and also we can see the apparatus of the alchemist art. Nicholas Flamel, so the mortar and pestle, also pharmacy or the medicinal alchemy. Distillation, again, notice the bird. Again, this is just a constant, and a little bit upsetting, but this is when we speak about alchemy, I would say there's a lot of diversions. So I would even say intentional misrepresentations by some of the more famous commentators in regards to alchemy, to turn it into, to remove the evident and obvious and repeatable instruments in regards to alchemy. But we see the furnace for mortar and pestle. We have one of the distillation instruments. We also have another distillation instrument. This is an alchemical representation. What do we have? Also snakes and rods. But carry on. So Artemis, the furnace, the alchemy lab based in there, and of course we already mentioned the Cyclops, and in regards to that, Robert Fludd giving the symbol there, and that of course is the same symbol in this image of Artemis. Temple of Ephesus, Temple of Artemis at Ephesus was the university, a knowledge center back in the ancient times. Another very important alchemist, musician, geometrician, mathematician, astronomer is Heinrich Kunraf, and he's also doing that sign as well. Albrecht Dürer, could go on, but so the Fornax and the connections to alchemy, the Mercury, the mineral, the element Mercury, the golden sun and the silver moon. Mercury amalgams. So mercury, if you get a gold, you're panning for gold, or you have silver, if you want to make pure silver or gold, you add mercury to it. Mercury will melt or absorb the gold, you melt away the mercury, and you have pure gold or silver or electrum left, depending. These are the ancient elements as well. Again, just repeated throughout the ancient, whether it's Pliny, Vitruvius, and others, they literally describe these processes in a very clear form. Well, anyway, so Stefan Mikkelspacher, another important alchemist: tincture, coagulation, distillation, putrefaction, solution, sublimation, calcination, still applied in chemistry labs. Mercury, the god, Mercury the element, the sun and the moon. We also have the thunderbolt of Jupiter. Mars is iron, Venus is copper. So it's what we actually have here is the ancient version of the textbook. So of course we see that even these symbols literally relate to various substances or elements ever so important in the alchemical process. Copper, Venus, iron, Mars, gold, sun, Mercury, silver or Hermes, silver, the moon, Artemis, tin, Jupiter, and Saturn is lead. Woodcut based on Valentine's work, again, the alchemical wedding of man and woman, gold, the sun, and silver, the moon, united by Mercury. It's an amalgam. You can literally, it is a law built into the chemistry of the universe. So again, Rebus matches that particular thing, the golden sun or the silvery moon. These, even the words have stayed with us. Now we can do, okay, I'll carry on. So we have tarot cards. So we have the Mercury symbol, but we also have air, water, fire, and it's hidden in there, the earth. Now also the red and the white. Rosicrucianism as well, the caduceus of Hermes and the constellations. Another tarot card is a Hierophant, which is the Pope. Pope wears the triple crown. Pope wears many hats, not just the mitre. He also wears the papal tiara or the triple crown, but also, as is sometimes referred to, the Saturn hat. And there we can see the Saturn hat, actually connecting to Mercury, mercurial symbolism. That's from Kircher's work. We see Artemis is wearing the triple crown. The Hierophant is a triple crown, but the Hierophant is actually an ancient religion connection as well. This is another work by Kircher. We have music, pendulums, also timekeeping references there, alchemical planetary symbols as well, and nice one there with regards to the canthus, but notice the pendulums. But what we have here is the papal symbol, the keys of silver and gold, and the triple crown, and also the zodiac in here as well. That's Columba. Columba the dove is a constellation which is so important in, for instance, the story of Noah in regards to releasing a dove with the olive branch. This would relate to Hermes receiving an olive branch from Mercury. That was what the caduceus was made of. So the silver and the gold key joined by the triple crown of the Hierophant is in the Pope card. All the alchemical works, the alchemical wedding of sun and moon, silver and gold joined by Mercury. Like literally get some gold or get some silver, put it into Mercury, watch what happens. There's great videos demonstrating this chemical process. This is the essence. This is built into nature. Different philosophies have been attached to it, but what is the universal law in regards to these things is that this is the law of the divine in regards to the way chemicals, elements react to one another. Also in this image you see, notice 1, 2, 3, well the Hierophant even in the tarot carries this, but the papal tiara, the triple crown, 1, 2 and 3. We see, was that Pope John or Pope Paul I, but wearing the triple crown, but also notice those two fingered signs, the preacher's hand or the hand of benediction. Notice that even in the tarot, the Hierophant carries that. Mikkelspacher, other works, again we see the triple crown, triple crown, triple crown, gold, the sun, the moon, silver, and Artemis joined by Venus, always above Mercury. Making gold and silver was essential back in the time. So also we have the Hierophant was the chief priest of the ancient Eleusinian mystery school. So this is a Neon tablet. Here we see the Hierophant with the hand of benediction receiving wheat, or Demeter and wheat. Now Demeter, Ceres, even the protoplanet Ceres in the asteroid belt, that's where we get the term cereal from. And this was the key symbol in the Eleusinian mystery school. So connections to Artemis, Diana. Notice the triple crown. This is from the grotto of the Apostle Paul at Ephesus, in the grotto of Ephesus above the Temple of Ephesus. He's also doing the double hand sign. This is again Temple of Ephesus. Saint Paul was originally Saul of Tarsus. He was persecuting Christians at the time. Acts 19:24. After his conversion on the road to Damascus, he essentially went straight to Ephesus and campaigned against Artemis. And we see there. So Tarsus was a mystery, a center. It was a philosophical school there, especially a center of studying of medicine. And Ephesus was another university town, let's call it, where the Temple of Artemis, 7 wonders of the ancient world. Before his conversion to Christianity, road to Damascus, St. Paul, or Saul of Tarsus, was persecuting Christians. Then he went to Ephesus and was preaching against there. Strabo describes Tarsus as a center of philosophy, rivaling Alexandria and Athens. So this is from Strabo's geography. Pause to read. The Celsus Library of Ephesus, there was already a library there, but the actual building itself, the facade was reconstructed, but again, this was an ancient library university center. Back to Tarsus, that was where Antony and Cleopatra met and began their conspiracy. Strabo also describes how Cilicia, the region of Tarsus, was a center of piracy. Again, you can pause to read that more in regards to how various kings were conspiring with the pirates to engage in the slave trade and his opinions on that diabolical trade. According to Plutarch, Mithraism was introduced to Italy via the Cilician pirates of Tarsus, of a region around there. So you see in Mithraism there's the moon, crescent, Artemis, Apollo, the sun god, the Caduceus as well. But you also notice the 2 fingers, the preacher's hand again. Moon and the sun. Artemis and Diana, Artemis and Apollo. So the Eleusinian mysteries, the Mithraic schools, and the symbolism and the rituals and the elements in there are just so embedded into the Roman, not only the Roman Church, but also the Eastern Church, that it's again uncomfortable maybe for some, but they didn't just say, okay, we're starting a new religion, we're going to remove they actually just merged these ancient mystery schools and symbols into there, and could do hours and hours into regards to especially the Ephesus versus Tarsus rivalry, which I believe was there. I'll put some links in the description how the architecture of the design names of London and New York City are actually like overloaded with ancient Egyptian, but also Mithraic connections as well, these ancient Eastern religions and their importance there. So I have a intuition that Ephesus versus Tarsus and what was happening here is actually a very interesting story. But for instance, Arsinoe, the sister of Cleopatra, the last rival to her throne, was in the sanctuary at Ephesus. She was murdered there. This caused a scandal because it was a sacred precinct. Arsinoe murdered there, and this was one of, not the reason, but one of the main reasons why Antony and Cleopatra's failed, because it actually caused a scandal back in Rome that this would happen. Mithraic connections, emergence of Christianity, all these connecting things. Okay, cheers and